Hi YouTube, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is inspired by me picking up a MAC eyeshadow earlier this week when I wanted to do a very simple eye makeup very quickly early in the morning, and I picked out this single shadow. It's the only single MAC shadow I still have in my collection. I've got several of the kind of seasonal palettes, and I've got a couple of those 16 kind of make your own palettes with the individual ones that you buy and then put in your own palette. But this is the only one I've got in its own little pot, and there's a reason for that. It's just such a useful basic. It's called Grain, and it's a satin, so it's not quite matte, but it's not super shimmery. You can see the lighting is not brilliant. It's a kind of dark peachy gold. Does that make sense? Looks like nothing very much there, and it's not showing up brilliantly in the sort of gloomy late afternoon of a March morning, but I promise you it does show up on the eyelid. I first got this shadow after watching a Tanya Burr YouTube tutorial. Would have been back in the early days of YouTube for me, when I hadn't figured out there were any older beauty gurus at all. I think I was led to YouTube probably by Lisa Eldridge, whose videos were on the Chanel website, but then kind of crossing over to YouTube. And I kind of slid sideways into watching various of the self-made beauty gurus, most of them substantially younger than me. And Tanya Burr was talking about this one as the shadow that she would pull out when she was doing a wedding makeup or advising brides who didn't want to look, out there, but wanted to look simple and elegant and with an easy fail-safe makeup. And I went and looked at it and I put it on, and she was quite right. I mean, particularly for blue eyes, I've got kind of blue-grey eyes. It makes your eyes pop. It's easy to apply. You just wash it all over the lid and into the crease and a bit of mascara, and you're good to go. And so using this kind of made me think of those products that I do use over the year fairly regularly, largely not from the high-end brands that I talk to you about, individual products that never seem to make my favourites because they've been around for so long, or they're not particularly exciting, they're just very reliable. And they never seem to make my empties either because they seem to go on forever. So I thought I would talk about some of those products, not just MAC Grain. I have to keep looking because I get the names muddled up. Another version of MAC Grain, and again it's a result of watching a YouTube video, but I can't remember who by. This is Bobbi Brown. Hold it the right way up. I used to wear a lot of her products when I first started wearing makeup, but I don't so much now. But this one, which is called Wheat, we seem to have a bit of a theme going on here, is a much more cool tone, greasy beige that the YouTuber I was watching actually recommended, not as an eyeshadow, although that's what it is, but to use as a contour powder if you were very fair-skinned, particularly with kind of yellowish undertones. And again, I got this one, that's showing up a bit better, and I do use it as a contour occasionally. It's also good as a simple eyeshadow. This one I think is absolutely matte. It doesn't say that, but you can see that it is. And then a number 3 eyeshadow, I think it's an eyeshadow, no, a baked highlighter. This is from Laura Geller, and you can see how long I've had this. The lettering is kind of wearing off the pot. What I love about this one is that it's just the perfect brightening shade to use. I don't use it as a highlighter, although you could. I use this one in the inner corners of my eye, where they kind of meet the bridge of the nose, which is very darkened in my case, and I really need to brighten that up with a nice blendable highlighting yellowish white. For me is the one that cancels out the dark and brightens the eye and makes me look wide awake. And it's not going to be the perfect shade for everybody. It's called Portofino, by the way, but it's just the perfect one for me. Another little convenient palette that I turn to regularly, this one isn't quite as old. This is part of the Sharon and Kelly Osbourne release for MAC called Mr. Magpie, and it's a brow duo. And I think this was the Kelly one. And again, they're not individually perfect for my brows, but mixed together they work very well. I do sometimes use a brow pencil, but I actually find to make my brows look really good, powder is the best option for me, because I just need to fill in a tiny bit. I haven't got sparse brows at all, but I just need to kind of emphasise them a bit. The other good shade for that is another MAC eyeshadow called Omega, which is actually the perfect colour for my brows. But I don't use my Omega as much because, although I've got it, it's one of those individual ones, again, it's in a 16 palette and I just can't be faffed to bring it out most of the time, whereas that, very convenient in the bathroom. Another absolute hero product for me, relatively new. I think this has been going for about a year. Before that, it was the Maybelline one that I liked. But this is Becca, and it's the under eye brightening corrector. I have talked about this in favourites, so I won't go on. But again, a nice peachy pink that cancels out for me quite dark under eye shadows. It is a very sticky formula, which I quite like because I think it's quite kind to the creases and wrinkles, but some people may not like that. But if you are willing to put up with that sticky, creamy formula, I think it's a brilliant colour corrector for those with under eye shadows. My all-time favourite kind of brightening treatment come primer is the Shimmering Skin Perfector from Becca, which it comes in various formulations. I think this is Pearl, yeah. It's got a good SPF as well. I actually, rather bizarrely, because it's got an SPF, tend to use it for evenings. I put a good layer of this on under my foundation. I find it gives me a really good glow, but you can apply it over the foundation as an illuminator. It does work to prime your skin. It's not super at covering up enlarged pores, but it does give you a nice canvas to work with. Again, absolute hero product that I go to again and again, and it lasts for ages. I've talked about various BB and CC creams over the years, mainly from the premium brands. But my actual favourite, I don't think I've ever talked about, is Dr. Yart's Premium BB, SPF 45. There's just something about this that blends, again, really well with my skin tone. So I don't think it's the formulation per se. It's finding one that blends in and doesn't stick in pores, and that's a lot to do with pigment and colour, I think, as much as formulation, and that can be a problem with BBs and CCs because there aren't usually a huge choice of creams. At best you're looking at light, medium and dark, which isn't really great for the vast array of different skin tones we all have. But I find that this Dr. Yart one is the one that makes me look most human when I don't want to wear a foundation or a full coverage. I was really struck by that this week. I was actually using the Guerlain Meteorites Baby Glow, and I suddenly looked at myself in my magnifying mirror, and that one really, really sticks in the pores around my nose. I don't know whether they've got worse recently, or the formula's broken down a bit, or my skin's a bit drier, or what. But I really, really thought this is not making you look better. And I did just an experiment with half the face with that and half the face with Dr. Yart, and Dr. Yart was winning hands down. So the meteorites will be appearing in empties, I think, next month. Another, I should deal with another kind of complexion favourite. I have talked about this before, a little go-to palette. These are RCMA. They're difficult to get hold of. You have to go to fairly specialist American and European sites. But they have these amazing cream. These are actually foundations, but I use as effectively as concealers. You can see here, this is actually a palette containing different colours, although they're coming off pretty much the same, but you can get absolutely kind of custom shade. This is the light European one. You can see there from the dent, it's the middle one I use the most, but I can mix them all together. They're just really creamy, really densely pigmented. That's looking a bit powdery there, probably because I haven't used it so much. And they really stay in place. Real hero product. Urban Decay. I actually like the all-nighter spray the best. I'm out of it at the moment, so I'm using Dew Me as a setting spray. I think they're hands down the best if you want your makeup to stay in place all night when you're going out dancing, drinking, or anything else naughty or nice. Here's a new one. This won't be everybody's taste. Dino Platz, the Flat Iron eyeshadow. I kind of got this by mistake, thinking it was going to be a kind of lavender colour. It actually evens out. I don't know if this is going to show. Not much at all. It's got very fine particles of glitter in it. Several of you were a bit taken when I was talking about fairy wings in my video before last, and this does that as well. It really isn't showing there. I'll have to show you this one again in a daylight video. It won't be everyone's taste because of these tiny glitter particles, although they are suspended in the cream so they don't fall out and spread around. But I actually love it for a really simple eye, and I often get compliments when I wear it. Again, a kind of no makeup look. So there we go, a few of my favourite things that don't generally make the favourites. Sorry it's suddenly gone dark despite me having a light on here, but I hope that showed you a few useful items, and I'd love to hear if you have any perennial favourites that lurk around in your makeup drawer. So until next time, bye for now.